Right, the tank's been taken off and it's been banished to the shed because it absolutely stinks. Because the fuel's stale, the smell is unbelievable. I mean, if someone could invent an air freshener that lasted as long as the stale fuel smell lasts, they'd be a millionaire. And you can see inside as well, the tank is difficult to see, but it's absolutely full of rust. When I pulled the fuel out, initially it looked like just stale fuel, but when I swirled it around a bit, it was just a ton of rust coming out. As I'll insert a photograph to show you the amount of rust that came out. I tried swirling it out a couple of times, and it's just, it really is badly rusted inside, which is such a shame because it probably had 15-20 litres of fuel in it. But because it's biofuel and it's got ethanol in it, it's hygroscopic and it just sucks all the moisture out of the atmosphere, and it's just ruined everything. It's just this tank had only been on the bike for like 1,000 miles. It was after an accident the previous owner had. The other tank's got a very slight scratch on it, but nothing really serious. So this tank for the time being is scrap, or certainly not going to be usable until I've got it sealed. If I don't need the tank, but because it's in mint condition externally anyway, I want to try and recover it. I've done the old trick of, there's a couple of tricks you can do, and I know there's going to be a lot of people suggesting other things. One of the tricks is putting vinegar inside it and leaving it to in the tank for a couple of weeks to sort of rot and neutralise the rust. I've also, because it's obviously out and it's drying out now, I've got nuts and bolts inside the tank, lots of nuts and bolts, and shake it around, and just that sort of loosens up all the loose rust at least. And then you can treat the tank with a varnish. You fill up the tank with this varnish and just sort of let it smear it all around the inside of the tank just by turning the tank over. I've done it before with my Kawasaki KDX-200 tank, and it does work. So that's probably what we'll end up doing. But for the time being, this tank's sitting out in the shed. It's got a bit of air in here because unfortunately the garage is attached to the house, and it's amazing how the smell gets through. So that's the state with the tank. The tank's been changed, and the next step will be to actually get the battery on. I've got a battery come today. Get a battery mounted onto the bike, and then what we'll do is we'll turn the engine over with no fuel in it. And I think the idea will be turn the engine over, wait for the oil pressure light to go out, and then maybe go and get some fuel and see if we can get the thing to start. Alright, our battery came today, so we're going to try and put the battery on. It is a second-hand battery. I didn't want to spend a lot of money on the thing until I know the engine's okay. But apparently the battery's only done. They always say, I know, used just to start one of the bikes, and I've charged it up and it looks like it's in pretty good condition. So that will get that ready to be installed. What I'm going to do is, which didn't come with, is any screws to screw any terminals. So I'm just going to go through and try and find some screws. So I'll find those. I'll find the hardware. I'll get the battery on the bike, and then we'll give it a wind over, see if we can get it to turn over basically. Right, one of the other problems of course with the thing, because it's been sitting so long, is the immobilizer remote control batteries are flat. I'm lucky I managed to get some from a local Euro car parts dealer, so I can replace those, because obviously I can't do anything with the bike until the immobilizer is released. So I'm just going to change the batteries in this. Not very exciting, but just documenting really what I'm doing. It takes two CR 1220 batteries, mounted that way in. Not very clear maybe what I'm doing. Like that. I think that's the right way around. Find out in a minute, I suppose. Doesn't seem to do anything. Positive, is that positive on the bottom? Positive on the, maybe I got the battery around the wrong way. Yeah, it's positive on the, got it around the wrong way. Right now, maybe I need the ignition on. So, okay, let's put the cover back on that. Turn the ignition on. I think then it should disarm when I press it. Once I get this back together. Okay. I'll just turn the ignition on. Now what I'm going to do, if this works, let me just bring it up so you can see what's going on. Right, so what the plan is to, in theory, if this works, it should allow me to crank the engine over. So all I'm going to do is turn the engine over a couple of times until the oil pressure light goes out. If I get it to turn over, I'll bring the camera so you can see the oil pressure light. So let's sort this battery out and see what the hell's going on. Right, as you saw, there's a problem with the immobilizer. It looks to me like it's probably, because the battery's been flat for so long, in maybe the fob and the alarm, it's lost its coding. Now I haven't got the coding for this particular immobilizer, and it's I think it's a Meta alarm. I've got one fob. I have got another, what I thought was another fob, but the other fob is actually simply just an empty case. So the alarm, the bike is responding to immobilizer. As soon as I try and start it, it sets the alarm off, as you saw. Now I've got two options. I can speak to the partner of the chap who used to own the bike and see if she's got any more of these fobs. I can also ask her if she's got they should be come with like a credit card with a security code on it. But I don't think that's going to be any help to me, because the security code is only for programming extra fobs. This fob won't respond, and I think you have to get it out of the armed mode, and I can't do anything. Whatever I do, I don't think the thing's transmitting. So I've got an option possibly of trying to see if this thing's actually sending any data out, maybe put it near a spectrum analyzer so I can see if there's any sort of spurts of noise coming out of it. I do of course need to check the batteries I bought. I'm assuming that the new batteries are okay, but they could have been sitting around for 20 years. So that's another option. The option that I'll probably go with in the long run is to actually remove the immobilizer and bypass it. It's very straightforward. It does mean removing a lot of the plastic off the back of the bike. I hate these immobilizers. I just think that if there's something like that is on a bike, especially this sort of age, if something's going to go wrong, it will be the bloody immobilizer, and you'll be in the middle of nowhere and you can't get the bike started. Like I am now, the bike can't even crank it over. It disables the ignition system, fuel pump, and starter motor. So basically, everything locks out. As soon as you try and touch anything, it sets the alarm off. So at the moment, I'm got to the point where the bike's obviously got a tank on it, clean tank, ready to take fuel. Not going to put the fuel in until we've cranked the thing over. Can't crank it over until I've got the immobilizer sorted out. So I think with this part of the video, I'm going to try and contact the person, see if she's got another fob for this. Maybe the other fob will work. Believe it or not, I've got 1,000 multimeters down the workshop. I don't think I've got a multimeter here. I probably have actually, but I'll check the batteries. It could be the fob. It could be the alarms lost its you know, it's a volatile memory system, and if it's been off for a while, it just doesn't work. It seems to arm itself. When you connect the battery up, it does a sort of like a beep and sort of flashes a couple of lights on the back, but can't get it to crank. So yeah, that's where we are at the moment, and I think we'll have to try and sort one of these problems out. Probably end up removing the immobilizer in the long run. Hate the thing. Did that on the S3000, and I've done it on other bikes with people who not stolen bikes, by the way. People who I know who bought the bikes, who, you know, constantly having to fight with the alarm going off. And the other problem is if the batteries go on these alarms, they can falsely go off in the middle of the night. You know, just set themselves off. Dodgy seat switch, set themselves off. You know, they're a pain in the arse. I mean, the bike is nickable because of the engines. They put these engines in quite a lot of sort of sports cars and things, and they're sought after for their engines more than anything. So it is sort of like a nickable bike, more nickable probably than all my other bikes put together. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a pain in the arse every time you want to try and start it, and you've got to press this fob. So that's where we're at the moment. Thanks for watching the second part of the video. The next part should be, hopefully, the engine be turning over and should be able to get the oil pressure up, and then basically it's a case of getting it running, getting up to temperature, making sure everything's okay, make sure it runs smoothly, and then after that it will be sorting the front brake out. That seems to be sticking not as badly as it was. I did have a quick look at it last night, but it looks like it needs a caliper strip, and these are 6-pot pistons on these calipers. So that's where we're at the moment. Thanks for watching, and more to come. Right, hopefully I've got this immobiliser disconnected or isolated from the bike. The main connector's still in the bike, and it's sort of taped into the wiring loom, so I'm not too bothered about that, as long as I've got the sort of like the starter motor circuit isolated and the ignition side isolated. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail what I've done, but obviously because it's you're disabling an alarm, and I don't know who's watching these videos. I know I trust most of my viewers, but there's a wire down here. You can see that blue connector down there I've joined. That's the connection that went back up to the alarm, and that's just opens the starter motor, so you can't enable the starter. And there's another connection that I'm not going to show you in detail, but this is the ECU just here, and there's a wire there that basically has to be reconnected to enable what looks like the ignition system. That should be just the 2 wires. They say that there's only 2 wires you need to connect on the block, but rather than do it on the block, I've done it down here. So basically, in theory, I can pull all the wiring out now. The remaining wires, there's like a 20-way connector. A lot of them are grounds, a lot of them are sort of like just bogus wires. Some of them feed flashing lights on the back of the machine, you know, a little to let you know it's armed. You've got indicator warning lights, you've got other sensors and things. We've got this supply here, this wire here that I've just found, and that goes to 2 fuses that basically supplies the power to the alarm all the time the battery is connected. So that's on the live side of the battery. You can see there it is, it goes straight to the positive side of the solenoid. I'm going to leave that in because it goes to 2 rather nice fuses, and I can put accessories on there if I want to. So the moment of truth is to see if this thing will actually crank now. I'll turn the ignition on, connect the battery up, and hopefully it won't go up in smoke. Okay, what should happen is turn the ignition on. It should all come to life. Press the start button. It should crank, but it shouldn't start because it's got no fuel. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the cranking, make sure the cranking works, and see if we've sort of basically got rid of the immobilising side. So ignition on, everything comes on, cranking. Excellent. So cranking's working. Next, the oil pressure light went out. All sounds good. So let me just show you again. We need to set this tripod up again because these bikes need the clutch held in when you're cranking. Press the start button, unlike the Honda that doesn't need that. It's one of the Suzuki safety features, which is fair enough. Hope I don't knock my expensive camera off the tripod. Trying to get to a position where you can see the oil pressure light. Right, the oil pressure light is between the rev counter and the speedometer. You can see on the left hand side you've got the neutral on the right, and you've got the oil pressure on the left. So what we're doing, we're turning over. We want to see the oil pressure light go out, wind it over for a bit. I'm happy then the engine's had oil through it, so we can sort of proceed with the attempted start. So again, I'll get down so you can see. Does a self check, wind it over, oil pressure light goes out. So that looks good. Looks like we've got oil pressure around the engine now. We can almost afford to take the chance of trying to start it. You hear the noise of the fuel pump priming. Obviously it's got no fuel in it. I might pop down the road now and get some petrol. But it looks like the immobiliser is disabled. Excellent. So I think the next step will be to pop some fuel in it and see if she'll burst into life. Right, I've got to get some petrol, so I'm going to put some petrol in it now. So this will be the moment of truth, really. If you want to see if it all works. So we're going to fill up the fuel, just hope that the fuel lines are all connected properly. That'll be interesting. I'm putting super unleaded in here just because if it does sit around for a while, it hopefully won't become hydroscopic again. I'd recommend that to anyone who stores a vehicle for any length of time to use super unleaded. I'm just going to clean the inside of the neck of the fuel filler out. Actually, it's a little bit crusty in there. I'm going to rag. The tank's been sitting in the loft for a while. Still got a bit of rust in it, but it's only around the neck. The inside looks pristine. So, check the fuel in it. Stop for a minute to make sure we're not got any obvious fuel leaks. That would be a pain because it's got a fuel float level switch, and it's got obviously the pickup for the main fuel lines. If any of those are loose, it's going to piss fuel everywhere. But we cleaned it all up and it looked okay, so it shouldn't leak. But if it will, if it can, it will, sort of thing. So. Let's get the rest of the fuel in. Okay. Just on the fuel leaking, I'm going to chuck this outside so I don't stink the house out. Bear with me, I'll be back in a minute. Right, it's the moment of truth, I suppose. It's a little bit apprehensive, a little bit dry mouth. I was hoping it's going to, I don't know why, it's either going to go unlocked, it's not going to sort of like catch fire or anything. But so we've got the fuel lines connected up, we know we've got oil pressure, we've got fuel in the tank. What I'm going to do is do a couple of primes with the kill switch, which should prime the fuel pump and get fresh fuel around the injectors. Open the door just in case it does start. Okay, let's have a go. Just heat the fuel pump first. Sound like a fuel pump prime again. Yep. Right, ready? Okay, I'm very pleased with that. It's obviously running fine, sounds lovely even with my ear defenders on. We'll leave it running for a while and then we'll put the power back on and then we'll start on the rest of it.